So this case study was, I guess, how would you rank certain items if you were stuck in the wilderness with them and had to survive for a couple days? Um, I I did it a little different. I just went in and started ranking them, and then I read the study, and it changed it a little bit for me. But just to get started, if everybody could pull up their wilderness survival activity, and we'll just go down. I'm curious to see what everybody ranked everything, but we have to come to united front on our answers. So I guess we'll just start with fanny pack of food. And Wiley, do you want to give your answer of what that should be ranked and the importance of it?
Okay. My top, it seems like top 3 to 6, I can't remember right off the top of my head. We're addressing the things that would keep us alive in order of what was being attacked first. So I put fanny pack of food as a 4 because I felt that warmth against the elements was more important, which, matches and sleeping bags were 2. Water purification was 3, and then food was 4 because water before food.
So I actually had that as a 3, so we're pretty close in our thinking there. Did anybody else have it lower, or are we all kind of right around there?
I had it lower. What were the things I had above it? If you're going to be moving around, like if you have to move back to civilization or land, I just thought since the canoe tipped already, flotation devices were number 1 for me, because you're going to have to eventually get back or make some trek back somehow, and the canoe already tipped. And so I thought personal flotation devices, let's see, water purification tablets, matches, and then parachute cord, sleeping bags, and then food. So I guess just things that you could use to set up slight shelter, keep you dry, and keep you safe on your way back. But so I had it at 6. Sorry.
Okay, so
close to 4.
Looks like we all kind of have it in the general area. It's not something super low on all of our lists. Thinking about this, it actually might be easier if we just go by ranking rather than by item. So, as a group, what do we think the number 1 most important item is? Well, Bear, if you want to kick us off there.
Yeah, sorry, I'm toggling between different windows here. I put the number 1. I put the water purification tablets. I think because if you don't have water, you can't survive. And it says specifically in the case study, in the instructions, that they won't send out a search team for 5 days, because the first 4 days they're supposed to get there in 4 days. And so they'll account a day extra just to kind of, because things happen, but then they'll send out a team probably after 5 days. You can't really go very far 5 days without water. You're probably not going to make it. And so that's the first one that I put. I assume that the water is probably not very good to drink as is, because otherwise there wouldn't be water purification tablets. I don't know. So that's what I put as number 1. Yeah.
That's actually what I had as well. Does anybody have an argument for another number 1?
I had the same thing, the water tablets for 1. So
Yeah, mine was close. Mine was in the top 3.
All right, so we're good with our group ranking of that as number 1 then.
Do we put it in as we go?
I think I turn in one for everybody, but it probably would be a pretty good idea to put it in.
Okay, under column C?
Wait, so Wiley, you said you had it in your top 3?
Yeah, I'd say my top 3 to 4 was shiftable.
Okay.
Okay.
I was
Yeah,
trying to
mine was
decide.
number two, so making it number one is fine with me too.
Yeah, number one's fine with me. I was trying to decide whether it was better to be warm or to have water. And so I was going off of, well, the first hour I could be thirsty because I hate being cold. So I don't know. I'm good with one.
All right. It's a little weird because at the beginning I had to do the expert ranking. I don't know if any of you have seen that yet, but yeah, it's kind of eye opening how they do it. But anyways, who would have number two? What would Brian? Do you want to kick us off for number two? What you think?
Yeah, I guess personal flotation devices is what I had as one. I didn't know if they were gonna stick in the same place or try to make their way back a little bit. And since it had already tipped once, I mean, just safety as you're making your way through things. Anyone else have any argument against that? Personal flotation devices being right up there as one of the priorities.
I do. I really didn't plan on using them at all, actually. I think it was probably yeah, I think it's my 13, number 13. Because I mean, at this point, given the resources that they have left, and the fact that I mean their canoes are like demolished, I mean, there's very little likelihood that they actually have the know-how to fix them. So I wasn't banking on them fixing them. I don't know if that's what the case was specifically asking for. I think, I mean, it's a body of water. There's got to be some people around or some city of some sort, and it's less perilous for them probably to head that way, especially given that they have a map and that they can have a map and a compass and that kind of stuff, and that there could be a team out to get them. Like, I personally just wouldn't take the risk to fix the canoe and then go back and possibly have it break when we're in a more remote area in the waters. Yeah, so I didn't bank on them at all.
I'm actually with Aubert on that. Aubert and I are 2 for 2 here. I have them as 13 as well. Just like, I think at this point, the risk of getting back in the water at all was too great. I think they just need to stay dry and not even venture to the water was kind of my thinking.
So I didn't have them at 13. I had it more at the middle of the pack, but my reasoning was the same. I figured if you're on land, you can go land the rest of the way and kind of work your way back along the water rather than getting in the water and risking that. But that was my reasoning. Wiley, any thoughts?
Mine is similar to Aubert's and Matthew's, but I wanted to ask Brian so that I understood better where he was coming from. Had you pictured like the orange flotation, like we would float down the river, or that we would fix the canoes? How were you picturing what they were and how we'd use them? Maybe I misunderstood that.
So yeah, I guess I was picturing those orange life vests. They could be whichever ones they want. My one argument before we decide, or just another point to bring up, is one person suffered a broken leg. So I know walking with them and carrying the rest of whatever you have is going to be hard. And so my thing was the canoes went down the rapids, and that's where they ran into trouble. But I'm sure traveling on much calmer waters may still be a possibility for them. And so that's what I was thinking. The person with the broken leg isn't going to be able to walk very, very much. Even with a homemade splint, you know, that's going to suck to have someone carry them as well. So that's why I thought maybe just dragging them along in the canoe alongside the water where you're going, or but I guess you wouldn't need a life vest for that either. So I mean, you guys make valid points as well. I was just thinking maybe if they went out on the open, like a calm open water to get across a lake to get to where they needed to for a better chance of survival. But that's all that was on my mind.
Okay, thanks. That answers my question. Then I would still like to stick with the most urgent things. And to me, that is water, food, and heat. And then once those are settled, if we feel we don't have options of someone coming to get us, then we start looking at options to get out or splitting up.
I could agree with that. So I guess what would everybody's consensus be on a number 2? I put a plastic map of the region because in my mind I went, I'm just gonna blitz out of here. But I kind of took it from an individual standpoint of I wasn't thinking like Brian, like, oh, I got a person with broken leg. I'm like, see ya, I'm out. But yeah, that makes sense. So I'm fine with moving mine, but
since I offered the number 2 and we decided not to put that one as number 2, I'll offer the next one, which was matches. Just on focusing. Fire is the first thing you'll probably want in this situation if you're gonna sit tight and try to survive. So I would suggest matches as the next one. Anyone else?
Wait, hold on. Which one are we on currently? Are we on 2? Okay. Well, I'm probably okay. So I promise I abide by all the covenants that I've made, but I would actually go with whiskey for number 2. And the reason for that is because even though you have water purification tablets, you need some kind of receptacle to hold the water while you purify it. And it does say that they have a pint of whiskey. So if you dump the whiskey, like that's a pretty good, because it doesn't say that there's anything else that they can contain the water in. So I would actually take the whiskey as number 2, even though that's kind of, yeah, I just wouldn't drink it, I'd dump it and then use the bottle for better purposes.
I was wondering how we were going to drink too. I was thinking the Frisbee.
Yeah, that was my other thought. I was like, maybe the Frisbee's number 2, but then I saw the whiskey. I was like, yep, gonna have to bite the bullet on this one. I think, because otherwise the water purification tablets are useless.
I like that also because I think the whiskey could be useful in starting a fire, right?
That is true.
So you could just dump it on some wood and then, use it for the water, and then we'd have the fire starter kind of.
And yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure, but alcohol in general is good if you have wounds to clean them. I'm not sure that whiskey is the best, but that could potentially have some purpose there as well.
So are we good with whiskey as number 2, or are we thinking?
I'm still thinking.
Okay. Well,
yeah, the thing, like, we have no use for the water purification tablets unless we have something that we can put the water in, because the tablets don't have an effect immediately. So you have to have something to contain the water.
And this is our complete list, isn't it? We don't have a mesh kit that we were carrying with us or anything.
Nope.
Okay. I think I see your point. I could concede that if needed.
Okay. I'm going to put that down as 2 right now. I'm going to jump to the other end of the spectrum now, just to kind of, I think this might knock a few things out really quick. Number 14, and I'll make my argument. I put the yellow Frisbee as number 14. I didn't see quite a reason for it, except for if we got bored, we could play Frisbee with each other. I don't know. Anybody have an argument for why it shouldn't be 14? All right, Brian, take it away.
Well, perhaps maybe not quite at 14, a little higher up. It could be used to fan the fire. I guess you could use some other things to fan the fire, but I'm thinking the yellow Frisbee the Frisbee might be the best thing to move the air. I don't know if you just want to use your hand. What else is there to fan the fire with? There's not much else. I guess you could take a wet shirt or, dry it out, flame it over there. That's just another reason for it not to be quite 14. Just for fire purposes, because I know that starting fires just throughout scouts, we would always kind of fail. But when our leaders were doing really well, I would see them with something fanning it. And they would produce a really good fire. But that's just a small point, I guess.
So what did you put as 14?
had the whiskey.
The whiskey, yeah.
But I didn't think of that. So you guys make valid points for that.
Okay. So to me, it sounds like the yellow frisbee for everybody's either at 14 or like a 12 or 13, somewhere in there.
What did you have as like 13 and 12, Brian? So, okay, actually, let's just kind of all say what we have for those three, because I feel like we probably have the same items in just like a slightly different order. So at 14, I had the frisbee. At 13, well, that one's different. I had the flotation devices, and then I had the 2 fishing poles at 12. I didn't really see anything, any use to that, but maybe that could actually even be 14. I'm curious if you guys had an idea of why that could be useful.
So I had the yellow frisbee at 14. I had the whiskey at 13, but I've kind of changed my thought on that a little bit. And then at 12, I had the insect repellent just because, I mean, there's probably mud in the region, and I've actually had to do like cross country backpacking trips, or what, not cross country, but 50-mile hikes, and I mean, it's nice, but it's not a necessity for survival. I think I put that more as a luxury item. But anybody else have a different 12,
No.
13, 14?
Mine
Yeah,
are similar. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I had the insect repellent, the fishing poles, and what was the other thing? Oh, well, the whiskey, but that got moved. So, but I had the insect repellent fishing poles down there as well. I didn't see a whole lot of use for those, because if you have fishing poles for maybe propping up something, since they're broken, since you can't actually fish with them, you could just use branches. I mean, you're in the woods, so it's a very replaceable item if you're only looking at propping something up with a broken fishing pole. So
I'm kind of similar here. I have a like insect repellent at 11. 13 was the flotation devices. 14 was the frisbee. I had the clothes at 12 just because that's where they ended up. But I'm okay if we end up moving that somewhere.
Okay. So I'm going to put the fishing poles at 14. Does that work for everybody?
Yeah.
Do we need to salvage the hooks and the, I haven't fished forever, the specialty thread line? Yeah, fishing line and the weights.
I'm thinking those would be useful.
Yeah, I'm sure we could.
It doesn't list it though. It doesn't list the hooks and fishing line. I mean,
because if they're broken, that's probably what broke off, right? Like it probably snapped in half, and then you have the pole part and not like the other part. Yeah, I don't really see a use for that other than like maybe jousting if we get bored, but.
Okay, I'll put that at 14 then. 13, do we want to go with, what was the other one that we had? Insect repellent or?
Frisbee, probably.
All right, we can go frisbee. And 12, insect repellent. One that kind of came up high there. All right, and then for 11, I'm sure I'm going to.
Yeah, the flotation devices, we still may have differing opinions on. Mine was, where is it? 12 is how I saw the flotation devices.
Mine was at 13.
I have them.
I was at 13.
All right, so we'll put those there then. And 10, I had the set of clothes, but I didn't see those as super important. So
I had the clothes at 12, so it's kind of the same region.
Well, I had the parachute cord. I feel like, I mean, the clothes will dry, right? Like you'll probably need a change of clothes at some point because we just don't know what. Well, I guess I guess maybe not. I guess they already are wearing clothes. I just don't know how much clothing they're currently wearing. Like, what set of clothes is it? Is it like a hoodie that could keep you warm, or is it like, yeah, I feel like there could be some use to the clothes. It just depends what they are. But I think the fact that they're wet is fairly inconsequential. I mean, it'll warm, it'll dry up.
I had clothes at 5. I would agree. They could be useful.
I had them at 5 as well.
Okay. Brian?
What ended up being 11 and 12?
11 was the flotations, 12 was the insect repellent, 13 frisbee, 14 fishing poles. And then we have water purification as 1 and whiskey at 2. So now we're just kind of filling in that middle area now.
Brian, are you okay with the flotation devices that low?
Well, this is a group consensus, not an individual. So everyone did have it that low. So with the flotation devices being that low and the yellow frisbee being that low, I'll pose a question. Is it really important to keep a brightly colored item with you to wave it to catch someone's attention? Or because, there's safety orange for a reason, hunter safety orange for a reason because it's visible. The yellow frisbee's bright yellow would stick out against the environment. Do you think there'd be an importance to having a brightly colored item, something highly visible? Or do you think maybe just building a fire and yelling to get someone's attention if you see someone nearby would be sufficient?
I think, I mean, if they had a flare, it would be a different story, something that produces light. But I mean, if it's during the daytime, they'll probably be seen, right? They're in a forest. If it's during the daytime, they'll be visible. If it's during nighttime, like the yellow frisbee probably won't reflect enough to be able to be visible. And they'll want to have a fire on at night. And so, yeah, I don't know that the brightness of it. I was thinking about that too, but I just don't know that like when it would really provide an advantage.
So I think just for the sake of it, just to kind of give everybody an idea, the expert rankings on the yellow frisbee was 12. So I think we're kind of spot on where we're headed with it. I do see Brian's arguments. I think it comes down to how is everybody thinking about this case study? Are we thinking that we're trying to just sit and survive? Are we thinking we want to get out? Are we, you know what I mean? It's kind of,
yeah, that would be the kind of thing like what's our strategy, because then that changes the ranking of items,
Yeah. So initially I was going for getting out. I'm leaning more towards survival now and just hanging tight for the 5-6 days.
I think maybe just finding a good spot and surviving as well. So I agree with you, Jaden, because of the broken leg. So I think that's gonna have to be our plan. So we'll go into the next items, knowing that we want to just sit tight, make a campsite, and survive. Anyone else have thoughts on that?
I think that's spot on, and I think I'm with Wiley at this point. I think we're gonna need some warmth.
Okay. All right. Let's so we're gonna put the clothes. They'll end up higher. Let's jump back to 3. So are we good with putting like the matches or sleeping bags? Who wants to take 3?
3, 4 for sleeping bag or for matches, and then sleeping bags even.
I had sleeping bags first, but yeah, I had sleeping bags as 3, and then 4 I had matches. Yeah, I was just thinking in terms of like durability. The matches you'll run out of, but the sleeping bags you won't. If you don't have matches, you can probably sleep through a 24-degree night with a sleeping bag. But if you don't have a sleeping bag, even with like a fire, you'll struggle probably. So that was kind of my thinking, but yeah, I'm open on that for sure.
My comment on that would be, did everything get wet when the canoes tipped? Because I was thinking we'd have to dry out, because even the clothes got wet. So I was thinking you'd have to dry out whatever you had. So that's what I was just thinking. Matches would be very important, just for the fact of drying out everything you have to begin with, and then they become useful. Because if they're wet, then it's not useful.
So in the description of the things, I think we should just follow that, where it gives us the fishing poles, but it lets us know they're broken. It gives us the clothes, but it lets us know that they're wet. But it does say the matches are dry, so I assume that they're ready to go. We can use them whenever. I mean, 30 matches is a long way to go, especially if you're preparing a fire properly. It should stay up and going for a long period of time. But I would agree that sleeping bags are probably more important, so I could put that as 3. And matches 4 work for everybody as well. Okay. For 5, I did have a different opinion on the parachute cord than Aubert. I was thinking more, it's pretty useful. I mean, 35 feet of cord, you could build a lot with that, whether it's a lean-to, it's a new fishing wire, whatever you need. Was kind of my thought. I ranked that pretty high. So, thoughts?
I'm with you there, Jaden. I actually had it as number 2 on my initial list. I probably would have done it a little differently, but still pretty high. I think, yeah, building some sort of, cover against rain, especially, trying to cover our fire or whatever it is, I think it would be very useful.
Okay.
Where is the food falling? Over, we're talking about parachute cord, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Personally, I would rank food over parachute cord, but I can also see the need for shelter using it to make a lean-to.
Yeah.
I was on the same page as Jaden and Matthew. That paracord has 7 strands within it, and there's a lot of uses for that. Because I was thinking fire, shelter, and then food. I guess in that order. That was just my general thinking. So if we have the matches, then I was thinking shelter next. And you can build shelter out of branches and stuff, but it's a lot easier when you have string.
Okay.
I can go with that, as long as we get food soon.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
that's my thing.
2.
I put food pretty low, just because you don't technically need it to survive. But also, like, I mean, what if they make it out in 3 days? Like, you don't want them to spend 3 days upset and hangry. Like, I know if I go, I'm saying this theoretically, but like in reality, if I go even 1 day without food, it's pretty brutal. And like, I will not be a happy camper. So like 5 days for a whole group of people, like they may have the most advanced technology. If they're all upset, they're not going to go very far as a team. And then also my thing with the parachute cord is, yes, it's super useful, but also like, do they have the know-how to use it? Do they know that it's useful? Like, who is this group? I mean, you'd assume they know something, or maybe we put ourselves in those shoes. I don't know, but I think we need food. Like, I'm hungry right now, which I wasn't when I did the case, and so I think I have a bit of a different perspective on it.
Yeah. So I actually had food next, at the 6. I figured that you are in the wild. That you could scrounge up food in certain ways. I mean, what kind of forest am I in? I'm in the Philippines where there's mango trees everywhere, or am I like, you know what I mean? It's kind of my thought, but I guess we're up in British Columbia, so I did say that. But I don't know. So I had food next in line.
So food at 5, is that what we're saying?
1, 2.
Did we already have a 5?
The parachute cord is at 5, but we can switch parachute and food, whatever
I still think food's first. I think I was hungry when I did it, and I'm hungry now. I'm just hungry.
Well, So my thing is, then there's only a fanny pack, cheese, salami, etc. I mean, it's not like you're choosing between rations and nothing else. You're choosing between very, very small calorie items that can help in emergency situations, but don't really help solve your hunger. So I think you're gonna have to catch food anyway. That's why I had it a little lower, but that was just my thing because it's very small calorie items, and so you still have the problem of what do I get for a meal to provide me with energy rather than just emergency reserves.
I was kind of on the same thought. Is it like a string cheese? Because that's not going to fill me up, and I don't know if it's worth keeping that high. But that was because it is just a fanny pack. It'd be different if it was like a Tupperware full of food, but
I'm good either way, just as long as we get some before we start building a shelter.
all right. Cool. So we'll put the parachute at 5, fanny at 6. 7. I had the duct tape. I went back to it's useful, but I'm open for debate on that one, and I could go either way. We still have a map of the region, open set of clothes, duct tape, and a compass. So go ahead, Brian.
I had the map and compass as 7 and 8, which would be right in line with what we're doing. But that, I guess, does not fall with the strategy of staying and camping and waiting for survival. So should we put the map and compass actually maybe even at the bottom because our goal is to stay and survive rather than to escape and find a way out?
Well, I don't know that the goal is to stay and survive. Like, I don't think that's ever really a very good idea. I think you can survive as you go along. Yeah, I just wouldn't. I mean, I wouldn't bank on staying there indefinitely. I think my thought is your goal is to get out of there, but like you have to understand that it's not going to happen right away, and that's the component of survival. But I don't think we ever set out with the idea of like staying there and just camping out until someone finds us, because there's no guarantee that they will find us. I mean, if there was, then yes, but yeah. And I think if you have a map and you have a compass, you're by a body of water. Like if you don't need to walk for that long to figure out where you are. Like it's not like it's an ocean, you know, you're canoeing and you kind of know because you were at some falls, like the map probably indicates some kind of yeah, difference in latitude. So I'd probably put those pretty high up. I had them as 6 and 7. With the compass being first because you need to know how to read the map. Yeah.
So it sounds like we're all kind of in the same area. 6, 7, 8 is where we're at. Wiley, go ahead.
I had put the clothes first, just along the survival clothes, and then the compass and the map, assuming that we had a fire going and a way to shelter them from getting wet again. But I'm similar also.
But we still need food, right?
We put food at 6.
Okay, we did. Okay, good. Yeah, I put clothes as 5 initially, compass at 6, and then the map as 7. So I'm kind of with Wiley on that in the order of those.
Okay. So where we already have it, do we want to put the compass at 7? Are we good with that? Is that our thoughts? Okay. Which I think would make the map go 8. And then
Small little argument here. Should we put the map before the compass? Because you can read the map without the compass and get a general thing. The compass adds to it, but just if I had to choose between a map and a compass and I was in the middle of nowhere, I'd probably choose the map because it would give me an idea of where I am versus a compass that just tells me the direction of where I'm looking.
But I think if we're gonna have both anyway, Like we're just trying to rank their importance, right? So we have both. I mean, if you literally think about it, if you have a compass and a map in your hands and you're like standing by a body of water, which one do you use first? Right? Like which one will you look at first? I think I would look at the compass first and say, okay, I'm looking north, and then I would look at the map and like turn it the right way and then try to figure out where along the river I am. Because you could be on either bank of the river, like you don't know until you look at the compass.
I had a similar thought as Aubert. I feel like the map is useful and it's helpful, but its importance comes with the compass a little bit. But maybe that's just because I feel like I'm pretty good at directions, and so if I know which way north, south, east, whatever is, I can kind of generally find my area. So I'm thinking from the standpoint of I'm going down this river, I already know I'm headed south or whatever, and I just want to keep heading. You know what I mean? But I can see both points of the argument. So one rank I don't think changes a whole lot, but we could whatever. Matt, why don't you break the tie break? What are your thoughts?
I don't know. I think having them back to back. I think Aubert's point is good. We need to know what direction so we don't start heading the wrong direction just by looking at the map wrong or something. So let's put compass first.
Okay.
So that just leaves us the clothes and the duct tape. Is that right?
Yeah, which by sound of it, it sounds like from what
9, 10.
about. Yeah, go clothes first and then duct tape. But all right, so that's everything now. If you guys have been filling it out along the way, I can give you the expert ranking so you kind of know where we're at.
Can you just give a quick rundown of the order that we have at this point?
Yep. So I'll just start from 1 is water purification. 2 was the whiskey. 3 was the sleeping bag. 4 was the matches. 5, the parachute cord. 6, fanny pack of food. 7 is the compass. 8 is the map. 9 is clothes. 10, duct tape. 11, flotation devices. 12, insect repellent. 13, frisbee. And 14, the 2 broken fishing poles. Is what we came up with. So, all right. So the expert rankings, and this actually surprised me a lot. Number 1, they had the duct tape as the most important item. 2 was the 6 flotation devices. 3 is the
went with the idea of fixing it, huh? Anyway, keep going.
3 was the map of the region. 4 was the sleeping bags. 5 was the matches. 6 was the food. 7 was the wet clothes. 8 was the broken fishing poles.
Yep.
9 was the parachute cord. 10, insect repellent. 11 was the water purification tablets. 12 is the yellow frisbee. 13, compass. 14, whiskey. So we were spot on in the fanny pack, and that's the only one we got exactly the right, but we have a few like the wet clothes were right there with them. The frisbee were right there with them. Insect repellent, matches, parachute, and sleeping bags were all kind of right there with them. And then we have a pretty wide spectrum on what's important and what's not. So, kind of interesting. They went from the standpoint of they're going to continue to try and move and get out and keep going that way. But it was interesting. If you have time, I recommend you go look at it and kind of see where we're at. I'll do the calculations of where we're at and submit it. Is there any other thoughts or any other insight that anybody has?
I think we may have to submit it individually just because looking at the grid here, there's also the individual error. So I don't know. I think we may all have to submit something.
I think we do. I think we do because there's a conclusion or something we have to write up.
Yeah. So I do have all those rankings. If anybody wants them or has any questions, I can send them out. I will be posting it to the discussion board thing, so you will be able to see it there as well.
Which rankings? Which rankings would that be that you have?
The group ones, and then the expert ones, so you don't have to go find them.
Okay.
As well.
Thanks.
Okay. Well, I thought it was really interesting, and thanks for the discussion. Any other questions?
Good.
All right. You guys have a good week, and we'll see you around.
See you later.